Good afternoon and welcome to successcafe.tv. My name's Paul Bursey. With me is
Warren Connolly. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to be here with you and to have what I trust is going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I mean it's very flexible, this one.
Oh, really?
Very flexible. We can go any way with it. But
the choice of words.
The headline is The Four Thieves of Productivity. So, very simply, productivity is a measure of efficiency of a person completing a task. And that's it in its very simplest form. So, again, we've got a lot of... we can do what we want on this, basically.
Yeah,
But,
there's a lot more than four thieves of productivity.
I know there is, there's loads. But this is just a way of getting into the subject, I think, more than anything.
True, yeah.
But we often assume that productivity means getting more things done each day, which is actually wrong. Productivity is getting important things done consistently.
Mm-hmm.
That's the better version of it. So what do you think about productivity?
Exactly the same example you just gave. It's about consistency and important tasks. And yeah, I mean, without going into what potentially could be the four thieves of productivity, I think one of them is really ignorance. Really, people just don't think about the term productivity enough.
Yeah.
In the right way, they think of it as something that's pressured. Productivity is a pressured thing, in terms of they're being pressured, thumb being pressed down on them, kind of thing, in order to be productive. Yet they don't. You can look at it from another perspective, I think, and this is where I think, besides the four thieves, many people potentially get it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, there are loads of thieves. But so how do we allow these so-called thieves in our world? How do we let them in to steal from us? And what are they?
By not being conscious of them.
Yeah, and are we conscious of them? Some of them are in plain sight and we don't even realise.
Yeah.
So have you ever heard a person say, "I'm so busy"?
Oh, yeah, always. Too busy.
Yeah.
I'm too busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sentence that the vast majority of people use and use it quite frequently. Things are going extremely well for me. I am so busy. We can always use that as an excuse, and sometimes it is one of those little things. They're little thieves in themselves by saying I'm so busy. The two questions we should be asking, of course, is how effective am I?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone should be asking that. And what are my results?
Am I busy being busy, or am I busy being productive?
Absolutely. Yeah. So to me, that's the only two questions you really, really need to ask. But going again with productivity is accountability, which we're not going to go into. But again, accountability, people think they've done something wrong.
True. Yeah. And also, as you touched on ever so slightly there, is that it may be a small thing, all right, not knowing what the thieves of productivity are. It may just be a small thing, or each one in itself may be small, but all of that compounded together, and you've got potentially a big problem on your hands.
Absolutely, yeah. And most people don't like accountability. A lot of people don't want to be accountable to anyone or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, depending on what you're doing, let's say you are running a business, well, accountability and profitability are very important. If you're doing something like training for some event or something like that, accountability and the end game are what you should be looking at. Because that's, you've got to start off with the right expectations and move towards whatever it is you want at the end of that period of time. And it's all about the journey. So, but the journey, whatever it is that the goal may be, we should never base it on being busy.
True, because busy has got such a negative connotation to it. Like you said, it's like saying, it's you're putting in the same breath as like where you just can't cope anymore. You're overwhelmed. You're
Yeah.
stressed out. Busy. This is what busy really means. It doesn't. You don't need to be busy. You can be something else. And it's because most people do look at it busy as they not look at it, but necessarily look at busy as being that way. But what they do is they subconsciously, when you hear the word busy, or if you feel busy, this is how you're going to express it in stress and all kinds of stuff.
Well, they go on about being busy as a bee. That's a bit of an insult. Because bees don't loaf around.
Well, also, but bees are not always busy all the time either, eh?
No, but when they are busy, they're actually doing something that matters.
Yeah, that really matters. Unfortunately, bees are not busy enough, to be honest. If you're looking at, they're very affected by temperatures and things like this. So they can be quite inconsistent in their busyness. So again, it's not busy as a bee. It does not necessarily mean it's a good thing. And you say it's an insult to the bees because they're doing something really worthwhile.
In the time that they are busy, they are extremely effective.
Yes, they are. And if somebody doesn't like to be accountable to anybody else, at least be accountable to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
At least honor and respect yourself enough to be accountable to you.
Yeah.
So that's something that can really help somebody that doesn't like to be accountable to other people, that feel that it's threatened by somebody else being accountable to them. Then be accountable to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, as far as I see it, I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong at all, but it should be about smart work ethic. I would say yes to that, but no to busyness.
Yeah.
So what are the 4 thieves that rob us of full productivity? They rob us of our time, our energy, ideas, effectiveness, and our potential. What do you think they are? What type of things do you think I'm going to mention here?
Distractions?
They're just one of the things that we have to avoid. Absolutely. But these thieves that negatively impact our projects, our business, our relationships, and our health. And the thing is, we allow it to happen. And
of course.
You're going to be surprised by some of these. Okay. The first one I'm going to talk about is drive. Funny enough.
Drive as being a thief. A thief of productivity.
Okay. So these are traits, but they're also subjects as well. So they sound great. They sound healthy. They sound beneficial. But when taken to the extreme, they can become enemies and very detrimental to our progress, because drive demands speed. And the problem is with some people, they're always sprinting forward at a pace, never taking any sort of time off.
Yeah.
Because they've got their perceived outcome that they want, got their next goal, they've got their dream, the achievement. It's a big adrenaline rush, but there's only so much adrenaline.
It's true. That can be sustained.
Looking for the next buzz. And drive is fine if it's looked after. Okay.
If it's managed, if drive needs to be something that is like it. You need to approach it from point of view of look at it as like a caged tiger. If you let it loose for a moment or for a short period of time, it's going to do. There's a lot of potential behind it. There's a lot of purpose. There's a lot of drive. There's a lot of that tiger has one thing in mind. If it hasn't eaten for a period of time and you let it loose. However, if you keep it out there for long enough, it's going to do a lot of damage. It's going to cause a lot of carnage,
a lot of mayhem.
Yeah. So you got to keep it tempered.
Yeah, absolutely. And wrapped up with that drive is where we fail, or we have the inability to say no to people. And what we should be saying is yes to what we want, right? And most of the time, not all the time, because there's going to be times when you want to say yes to someone else, but generally speaking is to say no until you've done the bits that you want to do in that day.
Okay.
Then it's a different ball game.
Because basically learning when to say no, just learning when to say no and how to say no, be able to say no to people. Because this is something that I used to hear so so often in the office world, office environment, or in the corporate business, corporate world, where they talk a lot about learning how to say no and when to say no to people,
Yeah.
because they understand, many companies understand that productivity is not, you cannot be productive if you're constantly pleasing other people by regularly saying yes and enabling them to come into your space when you should be busy. And many people that work from home these days are struggling with that. For example, this is a big thing, and for many people working from home, is being able to say no to people in the environment. When they've got children and a spouse or whatever, and they are now forced to work from home, and now they don't have that distance. They don't have that. They're not able to move away from their spouses and their family and work from an office anymore. And now they're in an environment where there's a family, and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to say no to them, because it's very often, some of them, many cases, they're so used to saying yes at the workspace that they don't have any experience on how to say no.
No, that's right. I mean, look, there's many ways of looking at drive. Drive is important. Don't get me wrong. I could tell you now that when I was training for the marathon, drive was a big factor.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's a difference between drive, because drive demands. Well, let's say, look, we travel at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and the problem is the old thing: if you throw enough mud at the wall, some of it will stick, but it's not focused enough. That's the problem. So we must have drive, but we don't want to become this headless chicken. Yeah, and just getting confused and confuse ourselves about being busy. So it's got to be focused. It's got to be precise in what we do. Then the second thing is excellence. Would you believe? Okay, because if you think, you can use that the wrong way as well. Because some people never feel they've accomplished much, because they always think they've got to aim at excellence all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great, and and excellence nudges us and reminds us. It demands things from us.
You mean in the pursuit of excellence?
In the pursuit of excellence, and that's fine. You can set that as a goal, but you don't make it like necessarily an obsession or anything like that, because
be all and end all.
It can take over, and you lose another way of losing your effectiveness. It's another form of stealing.
And very few people ever reach excellence in any case, any field. Excellence is something that can really, really, really hinder your progress, because you end up procrastinating, because what you're going to do is you knock yourself, and everything becomes, the association becomes very negative. Mm-hmm. And then you start to criticize more, and now all of a sudden procrastination is a thing for you, and you start to justify and find your own reasons to keep procrastinating, and that could be for something else as well. It doesn't necessarily need to be excellence, but excellence that could definitely happen to you if you push it too far.
Yeah, I mean, look, a part of excellence is that we've got to know when enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to aim for as an individual? That should be the question, really. When are you going to be satisfied? Now, I'm not saying that we should ever get to the point where we level off, but don't make it so impossible that it causes us problems. As I say, a project will always remain imperfect. It's
there will always be times and reasons for a project to be imperfect.
Yeah. I mean, there are going to be times where we're all going to be urged to give more, to be more, and do more, and be better. There's got to be a point where you have to switch off. So whatever you're doing, if you're aiming for excellence, what is sustainable? What level is it sustainable? If you know anything about sport and training for sport, you know that it's up and down. And the reason it's up and down is you can't have the high level 100% of the time. There's got to be times when you ease off a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Where you recover and you just take things.
In athletics, it's called a maintenance phase, and you go through a period of time when you do like 50% or 60% of what you should be doing.
I mean, yeah, athletes that train for the Olympics, for example, they are definitely not full out all the
No,
time
you
for
can't do it.
4 year cycles. No,
No, you can't
and
do it.
you're right. It's important. It's important to bear that in mind, and also from a mental point of view too. You know, it's just as important to rest the mind as well, the brain, and give your head a bit of a break as much as the body, and that all comes together. You know, that all fits together, and your heart benefits from it. Your heart, your brain, your central nervous system, which stimulates all kinds of a myriad of chemicals within your body, through all of those parts of your system working together. And if you're stressed out all the time and you're not giving your brain an opportunity to rest because you just feel drawn to the stimulation of excellence, then there will come a time when it's going to come knocking on your front door, and it's going to be, there could be a very rude awakening for you. So it's important to take time just to rest the brain, rest the head, rest the mind, as much as it is anything else, and give excellence a break every once in a while too.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what I'm aiming at, is the fact that, look, do we keep going at a breakneck speed? And why do we keep going at a breakneck speed? Because you can burn yourself out. I think sometimes it could be looking at it slightly differently, as if we fear the chaos that we've left behind and the fact that we're going to have to face up to it. I mean, speed is required for momentum, but it's also leave a lot of debris about. Right? And sometimes I think you keep going so we don't have to clear the debris up. I mean, it's untidiness, unrest, all things like that, disarray. There's lots of ways you can describe it, disorder, and I just think that sometimes we avoid it. We avoid dealing with everything.
The obvious.
Make an excuse that we're just going for excellence, and that's it. So the third thing is information.
Information.
Now, information. So, do we need information? Absolutely. But our seeking of information can actually drag us into the mud, suck us down.
Yeah, can pull you in.
It's like this continual rabbit hole that we can go down and sometimes never re-emerge. So we don't want anything to pull us into the weeds, because the weeds can strangle you. And I think
they will if given the chance.
Yeah, I think if you're building a business, it does depend who you are and where you're at. But generally speaking, if a new person's coming into a business, they want to hit it quick and fast, but do specific things. So if your job is in sales, then you need to get in front of the customer.
Of course, but how do we get in front of the customer? Follow a system. Follow a plan. Follow the education. Follow the information. Yeah.
They, on the face of it, don't need to know everything. There's a few things they need to know, and that's all they need to know at that early stage. You can learn it later if you want to.
Even in a restaurant, if you work as a waiter in a restaurant, all right, they always say study the menu. Yes, but you can't photographically memorize that entire menu from day one. As you go through, you start to learn the menu based on what people are ordering, and the more consistent people order certain dishes, you start to learn more about those dishes. And it's the same even if you're tasting as a waiter. You can't taste everything at once. You got to taste things as they in time. And this is you do the same thing if you work in sales in any industry as well, or as an entrepreneur. How many entrepreneurs have you heard that have made it huge? And what do they all say? They stumble and they just got back up again. They stumbled and they got back up again. They stumbled, they got back up again. Yeah. As long as you don't keep stumbling over the same block, but you step over it once in a while.
Yeah. Or you move the block.
I'm dealing with a client like that at the moment, and it's a challenge getting this person to see that they keep stumbling over the same block over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge, but in the same breath, I understand that challenge is a lesson for me too, to understand and learn better, because that's why that person is my client. Otherwise they wouldn't be with me. So it's, as much as it's a lesson for them, it's a lesson for me. But this is huge, is that people, they are held back in life,
Yeah.
and they hold themselves back because they just do not see that stumbling block. They keep denying the stumbling block. They're in denial, and
Yeah.
then they keep seeking more information, or they keep seeking excellence, or they keep seeking, what was the first one? Consistent, the pursuit of, not excellent. What was the first one you touched on?
God, I'm past there. I'm long way for that.
But it's all links together when you.
See, I've got to look it up now. So drive,
Drive.
yeah, because I've moved on. See, so
It was too close to excellence, you see.
yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
right. But
So
they're all
this
linked.
is
All
it.
these things link up, and
Sure.
the key is learn just enough to become effective.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. There've been times when I've gone times that by 10. We don't need to do it, but that's just, sometimes some people need a bit more, and that's fine. But don't become one of those people. If you are that type of person, that's fine. But if you're not, then do enough just to get going and learn and pick the rest up as you go along. But still do the active things. Still do. If it's sales, then make sure you're in front of the customer as much time as possible to learn, and that's the best way.
In the trenches, get stuck in the
trenches, absolutely. And
you never saw a soldier fighting from a boardroom or fighting from a study book, or
no, that's
fighting.
Right.
Yeah, soldiers out, okay, except for unless you're a general, but that general's been through that as well, and they've been through the trenches.
Hopefully, he has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something I was touching on with Paul the other week. Just as a little side note, is that when I was in the military in South Africa, you would have people that would qualify, that would graduate from university, and they would come straight into the military because they had to. In any case, even if once they finished university, they had to go and do their time in the military, and they would come in as a two-pip lieutenant, which is a ranking officer. It's a commissioned officer, and we just never had respect for those lieutenants because they just didn't have the experience. They weren't stuck in the trenches from day one. They came in, they had authority which they didn't deserve. So, and this is something that you see in the world around us a lot these days. People that have a voice and of authority, and they have reached excellence, but they haven't reached it in a way of being stuck in the trenches, and actually having done the work and learned from experience. And it's not that it has to be tough and challenging; it doesn't have to be. And in the same breath, it's important that you know what you're talking about, and you're not just being an authority based on a textbook or on words on a page.
Well, we had the same in the British police. When I joined in 1974, everybody was an action taker, a hands-on action taker.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the challenge you have all these so-called chiefs and leaders, and they use that term, must use that term very loosely, but they have all these people that have never done it. And the bottom line is I want to be led by someone who knows exactly what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Not someone who reads it in a book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I could rant on about that, and I won't. But you have to have people that are used to taking action.
Look, I mean, you and I, we are sitting here on a screen, on a podcast, on audio, and we're talking about stuff that very often very successful people have achieved and attained. The tools,
yes,
and then the information, the knowledge, and the know-how. And I can't put my hand up and say I've actioned 100% of the stuff that we talk about. Okay, but what I do know is that if I talk about something, it's something that I've at least put my hands in and got myself dirty, and maybe I don't practice everything today, because if I did, I wouldn't I wouldn't necessarily be on this podcast if I did. But in the same breath, if this is something that I believe is information that is imperative for anybody to understand and to know. So if I can share that information with somebody based on even just a little bit of experience, that I've gone through that and I've worked through certain as I said, vast majority of the subjects we speak about here, in terms of principles and habits and pillars and things like that. I can say I've done it, and I just haven't reached success in all of these areas. But that doesn't mean that we need to give up or we can't share that information with the vast majority of people. Because if you can, through experience, of doesn't matter how little it is, all the better for everybody else around you.
Yeah, I think.
For those that listen.
I think, look, no matter what you do, you've got to be in the right and a thriving environment that supports what you do. And when we're talking about support, what we need is someone who's going to support us taking action. You can sit there, you can hide. We have people at work walk around with a bit of paper all day. You can do all that, but at the end of the day, there is only action. When you really get down to it, you've got to get your hands dirty, get on your knees, scrub the floor, whatever it is you've got to do. You've got to go and do it. And as I say, and that obviously when we're talking about information, you say you need just enough, no more, right?
And each time you learn more, it's just enough.
Absolutely, yeah. Because and when I talk about environment, I'm talking about when you're in an environment when you're gaining the information, but in that same environment, you should be learning off people who are actually physically doing it. And remember this: the attitude and negativity are contagious.
True, 100%.
So if you've got someone with a great attitude, right, then that's brilliant. But if you've got someone who's very negative, that's also contagious.
Of course, it's even more contagious because we're more in tune, unfortunately, programmed to identify with that more. Just in line with information, I was listening to a talk yesterday, a slide talk, and I'm watching and listening, and it was about our blood test. Okay. And the company that do our blood tests for us, and they were talking in detail about the blood tests and stuff, and how they identify the biomarkers and all that. And that information to me was some of it was mind blowing, because it's like, wow, okay, this is really cool information for me to be able to use now. But not knowing that before didn't prevent me from going ahead and talking about it to people in the first place. You understand? I knew just enough in the beginning to understand what the importance of it was or is, and now that I've grown more to know more information about it and how to read it and share that information with people, with customers and clients, and that it makes learning this more of this information just makes my job a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier now. But I just thought I'd give that example because I just heard that. I was watching that yesterday, and learning and understanding a little bit deeper, it really blew my mind away, because now I'm thinking of what I can do to when I talk to people, not to say too much, but just what I do know and how I can actually ask certain questions with people.
Questions are the answers, obviously. The book said. So, but the last thing, the fourth thing is activity. Now you're saying, well, how can activity be the thief of your productivity? Well, it depends how you go about things. I've seen a lot of active people, and they're just chasing shadows. They're not saying the right things, as you said earlier. They're saying too much. They're doing a lot, but not achieving anything, because it's not focused. It's not precise enough, maybe, because there's more to activity. One of the things is how you come across to other people. You're doing too much activity, you can actually be full on, in their face. You can be obnoxious. There's lots of things you could say, and what you want is to be have a relaxed intensity and a relaxed confidence, so that you come across as reasonably professional without being boring, because you can be professional and boring, but activity,
you can be a professional bore.
Absolutely. Yeah. So and it's all about filling your calendar, but you don't fill your calendar jam-packed, so you
Mhm.
become ineffective and inefficient.
Mhm.
So people need to, again, going back to sales again, if you're in sales, you need to, if you know that you're best if you only speak to 6 people a day rather than 12, right? Because you burn yourself out, or for whatever, how you want to describe it, then work on 6 every day. If that's the figure you want to work on.
As long as you learn how to become effective so that your
Yes,
strike rate is higher than if you were working with 12.
absolutely. It is about strike rate. I mean,
It's about results at the end of the day.
and again, you could do the same in sports because people do it with heavy weights, don't they? They don't do all the hundreds of reps. They do a very small amount of reps, but with very heavy weights.
And then, actually, it's yes, but also most of their training, back to the phases of preparation and competition and training, that a lot of the time they're doing high repetitions,
Yeah,
as
it
much as
depends.
20,
What
as
I'm
much
saying,
as 25
it depends on the
repetitions.
training that you're doing, but there are
Yeah.
ways. There's ways in every way.
But typically, like if they want to grow, they have to push harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's being in the right environment. Going back to that again, and doing the right actions. And in our particular case, we because we do in health and wellness, we do in business. So our calendar, our scheduling tool, or whatever you want to call it, is very, very important, so that we can actually fit other things in that are not necessarily of those things, like family. If it's a bit of rest and relaxation, or maybe meditation. All these things are important.
Yeah, they are. And this is one of my struggles at the moment. For some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason I'm struggling with that timing, that allocating the right times to the right things. And
Yeah.
it is a frustration for me, but in the same breath, whenever I do get frustrated, thankfully I'm able to remind myself that there's just a lesson in this and there's no point in being frustrated about it.
No,
And
you
it's
just
just
need to
move on and just
away, keep learning, keep tweaking, until you get it to the stage you go, yeah.
Because being frustrated is not going to help me. So yeah, exactly. Tweak here, tweak there, fit and turn. Yeah. Just like plumbing. When they do plumbing, they put a system together. They don't put it there and it sits, and that when you turn the taps, or you turn the valves, and that everything's just as it was when they first put it in place. They put it in, and then they move it, they adjust it, they tweak it.
They have to also have to test each joint.
True.
Yeah. So it's look, activity can be your best friend, or it can be your worst enemy. But activity can become insidious if it is only just that, and you haven't got a life, you haven't got your health.
Yeah.
You have to mix and match things and be flexible and learn and move, and to get it to the way that you really want it. We want to be smart and active, not silly and overactive. Because
Good point.
Again, you've got control the time as much as possible. As you said in the previous thing, too much is sometimes too much.
Yeah.
You have to understand that and not do too much, and know when to back off. You have to do that in training when you're training for something. Yeah, sometimes you're having a bad day at sales and you've got to back off because you're getting it all wrong that day. Back off, go and relax somewhere, go and do something, review what you've done, and come back stronger next day. And just you've got to say, we talk about rolling with the punches, and that's the reason why. So you don't cheese yourself off and lose focus and your drive.
And this is another key. People get knocked back very easily, and instead of turning the other cheek, so to speak, or just giving up in the moment, people could, we could, to be more empowering ourselves more when we do get knocked back, is just to ask the right questions, or ask questions, regardless of whether they're the right questions or not. Just ask questions and try to find an answer, and from anybody really that is of authority, not just anybody, but just go to the right people and ask the right professionals the right questions, or learn how to ask the right questions. And it's the same in sales. You learn how to ask the right questions to people based on circumstance. But unfortunately, people do get knocked back very easily, and then they kind of get confused, and they don't know where they're going wrong. And this is something that like Paul and I are working on at the moment. We have within our company, we have a system and we have a process. We have everything that's in place. But not that the system doesn't work for us, because it works for everybody if you practice it. But our approach to the system is individually unique. All right, and this is how I believe that the approach to things needs to be individual, but in the same breath, you need to trust the process.
Yes.
Trust the process. And it just needs a little bit of tweaking here and there every now and again. It doesn't need to be perfect and copy and paste for every single circumstance, but just trust the process. And then you won't need to worry about how much information do you have in your head or all of the other things, whether I'm taking enough action or not. Just trust the process, and we'll all put everything else to bed, really.
You've got to trust the process. You also got to control the process as well, because control it for you. If you're talking about a diary or scheduling time blocking, as some people call it, going back to you've got to learn to say no. Right? You control it all as much as possible. You must be the creator of your own success, and not the architect of your downfall.
Yeah, nobody else can make us successful.
No, that's right.
People can give us opportunities and help us put a foot in the door, but at the end of the day, it's up to us to make sure that we become successful. So
and make sure that we don't work all the time, as I mentioned before. Very, very important. Spend a little bit of time on your personal development. Spend some time on some healthy habits. Ones I'm talking about, because we talk about it all the time. You take care of your mind and your body. You need to focus, and you need to stay on target what you're doing.
Be selfish, and this can also
be selfish.
This can also be counted as a thief, as a potential thief, as not being selfish enough. Be selfish enough to know what's good for you as an individual. It's not everybody. For example, not everybody requires help in the same way, and not everybody, as you say, needs to block time at a certain time because somebody else does it that way. No, you can't. It doesn't work for people, because also at the end of the day, for me, our energies are very different. Our energies fluctuate. As much as our performances fluctuate, our energy through the day fluctuates. And like me, I need to get a little bit of a rest in the afternoon. I like
a bit of rest.
Yeah, I need that cat nap. If I don't get a cat nap, then come the evening, I'm like that. I just tweak my neck then. But for those that can't see the video, but if I don't get that little bit of rest, and this is what is unique for me. I found, like, when I worked in an office environment where you can't get that little bit of rest, I struggled. I really struggled, because I just need that. Even if I can just sit, I don't have to sleep. Just close my eyes for 10 minutes. I don't need to sleep. If I can close my eyes for 10 minutes, then I'm fine. I'm good. Sleep obviously works better, but yeah. So it's just remember, unique. We are all unique, and although the pillars might be there, the systems might be there, the habits, the I can't think of the descriptives now, but everything may be there for you. But at the end of the day, you're you, and you need to know how it feels best for you. We all need to exercise. So when is the best time for you to exercise? What is that? We all need to eat healthy. What are the best foods for you to eat healthy, and when is that? We all need to take nutrition. So what is that nutrition, and where is it, and how much of it? All these kind of things. We all need to meditate. When do I need to meditate? Where can I meditate? How do I meditate? So it's all unique, but at the same time, it's just something that is essential. And so
it sounds complicated. But it's not.
It's really not. Yeah, it's really not.
So
no.
Yeah. I mean, here's something for you to think about, because bear in mind what you said. Personal energy mismanagement is a silent thief of productivity.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes back to the thing. Your body, you, and a power nap suits you. Now, I take power naps occasionally because I like them, not because I need them. Not I feel like I need them. So that's another thing to consider. Do things before you need them.
Yeah. And that's being selfish. You like a power nap. That's being selfish. And you can't berate somebody for being selfish because
not in those particular circumstances.
If you're being selfish and it's detrimental to the betterment of somebody else or other people, then you need to ask. Then there might be question marks around that. But if you're being selfish and it's only impacting you, then go for it. Just, you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, high achievement and extraordinary results require big energy. The trick is learning how to get it and then to keep it. And we're talking about energy. Okay. So, what would be some of the tips you would give people then? Because obviously, because we're talking about successcafe.tv, we're not necessarily talking about health and wellness, but health and wellness is really, really important, isn't it? So
naturally, yeah. I mean, just think about hydration. If you're not hydrated enough, you're going to feel drowsy, and unfortunately, most people then compound that by drinking coffee. Not that I don't advocate drinking coffee, or I appreciate this is my second cup of coffee for the day, and that'll be my last. But if I'm feeling drowsy, I'm not necessarily going to have a cup of coffee. I'm going to drink water. So hydration is the key. And if you're working in an office environment, and as summer comes around now, for example, many people are going to be going back into their homes still, and there will be air conditioning on perhaps in some homes. So windows might be closed and there's air conditioning. That dehydrates you. As much as heating dehydrates you, air conditioning also dehydrates you. So if you're working from home and you're feeling drowsy, get up, move around, stretch at your desk or your table, wherever you're sitting. Just stretch, do some basic stretches to get the blood flowing, oxygen flowing, move around, get up, walk around. If you have a garden, get outside, go walk around the garden. If you work in an office block or company somewhere, get up and go to the toilet for 5 minutes, come back. We spoke about this before, the vagus nerve. Wet the back of your head with cold water. These are all huge, greatly beneficial tools.
They always used to say, didn't they, about solution with cold water, right?
Yeah.
I've got a better one than that. Do that and plus get some on the back of your neck because that's far more effective.
Far more effective.
Don't ask us why, but it is. Trust me. So, but take your shirt off first because you look terrible going back into the meeting with a wet shirt. So, but just to finish off, just very, very quickly, the 4 questions to rid yourself of these productivity thieves. The first one we spoke about was drive. Is there anything that I can let go of? All right. It's not all about go, go, go. Excellence. When is good enough good enough? All right. It's not
what does that look like?
It's not all about total all out war. Information. What do I really or truly need to know to get me over the hump, to get me going? All right. Don't spend all your time in the classroom. Get going. All right.
And also remember with information, as much as like your business is going to go through stages, right? You're going to go through progressions in your business.
Yeah.
It's the same with information.
Absolutely. Yeah. Superb. I mean, and the last thing is activity. What is most important right now? What's my number one priority? And that's basically it in a nutshell. You've got to think on your feet, do what's right for you, and don't drown yourself in other things that you don't need to. Unnecessarily. So I'm done. I don't know about you.
Phew, I'm exhausted.
Yeah. So we now know because we're
I need my power nap.
Yeah, we're going to have a power nap now. So I hope it's been useful for people. Let us know,
I trust it has been.
Yeah.
Send us some feedback. Just let us know how we did today, and if this information that we shared with you was beneficial to you, or if you know somebody else that it would be beneficial for them, then share this with them. Please feel free to take that link and share it. Sharing is caring, folks. I keep saying
it. Share and question. All right, lovely. Okay, well, have a fantastic rest of the week, and we'll see you soon.
See you next week. Yes.
Cheers.
Or on Friday if you join us on Friday.
Oh yeah, on healthierlife.tv. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Speak to you soon.
And one question, one additional there, Paul, that just came to my mind
My
now.
finger was on the button there.
Ooh, that was so close. So I want to try to make it before 45 minutes. All right.
Yeah.
If you got any tools that help you with negating the thieves of productivity, then let us know. Get back to us and share those tools with us. We can share it with our community as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
See you
Bye-bye
later.
now. Take care.
Bye.